Vox Eurydice translates to mean the voice of Eurydice, or more precisely here, her right to speak. Vox Eurydice represents the feminine voice in the unconscious, one that will surface and must be heard. You can find that passage on page 4 of Margaret Ann Mendenhall's new book, Vox Eurydice, The Ascent of the Female Rescuer in German Language Opera, which is a mythological and depth psychological study of one particular repeating motif in German opera. And that's the character of the female rescuer and how she represents the voice of the feminine. My name is Joanna Gardner, and I feel honored and grateful to welcome you to today's MythLit webinar for the myth community to read together and celebrate the field of mythological literature. Today, we get to celebrate Maggie Mendenhall, who has been an incredibly engaged and supportive member of this community since the beginning. So it is a joy to be able to honor her and her work. We also have Stephanie Zachowski with us. Stephanie and I are the mythologists behind the Fates and Graces team. We have been working together to cultivate the community of mythologists since 2019. And our vision is that in this space, we share ideas, we inspire each other, and we amplify each other's work. We share ideas, we inspire each other, and we amplify each other's work. That's been our vision since day one, and we remain committed to that ideal. We also entertain ideas in the manner of the Greek goddess Hestia, with grace and hospitality. That means we try to live the yes and philosophy of conversation. Yes, and means building on what others say by replying with the words yes, and then whatever your thoughts are. It doesn't mean agreeing with every idea that comes up, but it does mean acknowledging the reality that that idea exists. It means saying, yes, that idea exists, and look, it seems to imply this other one. It means saying, yes, that idea exists, and look, so does its opposite. It means saying, yes, that idea exists, and I notice that I'm feeling a strong desire to create something new in response to it. Yes, and primes the pump for creativity by bringing many ideas into the space and trusting you to notice the ideas that work best for you, the ideas you find the strongest and most compelling, to work with however calls to you. We find this practice as useful in our personal lives as it is in community gatherings. Your whole self is welcome here. And by being here, you are creating the space for everyone else's whole selves as well, the same way they are creating the space for you. So thank you for co-creating this community. We'd love to begin today with a chat check-in, as we often do. And as we'll discuss in a few minutes, and as I've already mentioned, Maggie's book is about the voice of the feminine, right? What some might call intuition, or the still small voice, or the voice of the soul. And in Maggie's book in particular, it's how that voice relates to music and song. So the invitation today is to listen within for a song that your soul is singing or a song that your soul might like to sing. Like literally, what song comes to mind for you? Or do you already maybe have a song running through your mind? Open up the chat if you like, and if there's a song that's coming up for you, share a line or two from it or the title of it. In thinking about this webinar, I was thinking that I would share the theme song for a British TV show I've been watching called Detectorists, which, by the way, highly recommend, super fun. Beautiful theme song. There's a line that goes, "Will you search through the loamy earth for me?" climb through the briar and bramble. That's what I was all set to share as like a song for me. But this morning I woke up with a line from Hamilton running through my head. So I feel like I need to bring that into the space as well. And that it's just that line, my name is Angelica Schuyler. I don't know if you've seen Hamilton, but just those few words, my soul was saying, my name is Angelica Schuyler for some reason. So those are the songs that are in my awareness today. And Maggie, I'd love to come to you and check in with you. Is there a song that's present for you in your soul today?
Yes, it is that anthem from the underdog or the silent. This is me from The Greatest Showman.
From what was that?
The Greatest Showman, the movie
Oh,
with
okay,
Hugh
yeah, yeah.
Jackman. You know,
Awesome,
Zenaida
awesome.
sings it, or no, not actually Zenaida. I think it's the bearded woman starts singing it.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah,
Love it,
yeah.
love it, love it. Steph, how about you? Do you have any
I
songs
love
coming
that
up
song
today?
too. Well, yeah, I had a couple. So initially, when we were talking about that this morning, I was thinking of Unsteady, which is a song by I don't know, a rock band or something. It's but I love the tune, and then it's like, hold on to me, I'm a little unsteady right now. Like, yeah, kind of fits. But the other one that just came up while y'all were talking was the Pink song that I love so much from the Just Like Fire. Uh,
Mm.
it's kind of an
Oh,
anthem
I love
song.
it. I love it.
Yes.
Little,
I love bringing all these like the songs kind of what's coming up for me is the songs have a soul of their own,
Yeah.
and talking about them kind of invites those souls into the space. Do we have any songs coming in the chat?
no, it's pretty quiet on the song front, but we do have good mornings and hellos from
Okay, well,
all
good mornings.
over.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Good mornings and hello to everyone.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Well, okay, so while everyone's in the chat saying hello, please join me in officially welcoming Maggie Mendenhall to MythLit. I'll share Maggie's bio with you, and then after that, we'll begin our conversation about Vox Eurydice. So, Margaret Ann Mendenhall, PhD, lives in Long Beach, California, and is a graduate of Pacifica Graduate Institute's Mythological Studies program. Her blog, My Daily Soul Trek, analyzed all Star Trek episodes and films, all of them, chronologically from a depth psychological perspective. Additionally, she has written, performed, and produced two myth-based one-woman shows, and produced and hosted the public access television series Myth is All Around Us. Maggie is currently at work on her second dissertation. One
Yeah.
wasn't enough for her. And the second dissertation uses Star Trek to explore depth psychology and autism. Maggie, welcome to MythLit. Would you like to take the virtual microphone at all and offer a few words of greeting?
Just so honored to be part of this and for your insights and to the whole audience here for them coming. And I see there are some songs coming into the chat. So
Oh, good,
yeah.
good. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maggie. I have a few topics of conversation about the book that I'd love to invite you to speak to. And then after that, we'll have time for questions for Maggie from the community. So as we go, everyone, please feel free to type any questions or comments or reflections into the Q&A. Click the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and then we'll be able to lift up what your thoughts are for Maggie. So, okay, Maggie, here we go. You
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
All
Okay.
right. So first of all, would love to hear in your voice a little bit about the book. Like when you meet people at a party and you describe the book to them, what do you say? How do you tell people about this book?
Well, I realized in preparing for this that I'd spent so much time with a publisher who's looking for a music textbook saying it's about the feminine in German language opera, but it really is about the feminine and about the right to express your opinion, and it uses Eurydice, who was not asked what she wanted to do. So yeah, so that's how I basically talk about it.
Awesome. Very cool. Very succinct, right? Like an elevator pitch, as we're supposed to do with our books. One of the things that I appreciated about the book is the very clear mythological frame that the book creates for analyzing the operas that it talks about. And this frame has a name. The name of this frame is Vox Eurydice, meaning voice of Eurydice, right? And it's based on the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. Like that myth is in conversation with all of the operas in this book. And so my reading of the book, my understanding of that frame, the Vox Eurydice frame, is that it basically says, okay, where can I locate energies similar to Orpheus and Eurydice in this particular opera, whatever opera it might be, right? And what does it say? What do those energies that relate to Orpheus and Eurydice, what do they say about the meanings of the characters in each individual opera and their actions, and kind of reading below the surface for the deeper meanings? I found this device super useful for comparing themes in the operas, and I know nothing about opera. I learned so much about opera in this book, I will say. So, would love to hear your insight about this frame. Like, why does it work so well? How did you come up with it? Tell us about the frame itself, the Vox Eurydice method.
Well, basically, the idea, as I said, is that Eurydice okay, so we're all mythologists. I think everyone knows that Orpheus went down to bring Eurydice back up to the world of man. But no one asked her. I mean, she was already in the Elysian fields where everyone wants to end up for all eternity. And he just basically doesn't even tell her. He doesn't even look her. He doesn't tell her, I can't look at you. He just pulls her up. So I analogize that to our patriarchal culture, which Eurydice would have been subject to had she indeed gone with Orpheus. So what if these operas were looked at from a different perspective, not the patriarchal, but from the perspective of the feminine? And this came to mind. I was actually inspired. I went to see a performance of it was called Desdemona, and it's basically the telling of the Othello myth from Desdemona's perspective and that of her maidservant, who is from Africa. And I believe it was written by Toni Morrison, and it was directed by Peter Sellers, who's been a lifetime mentor to me. So that one, it just clicked. It's like, this is what happens to happen. It's like, yeah,
That moment of insight, right?
exactly, exactly. I need to tell it from a female character's voice.
Had you already started writing the dissertation?
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yes, this was about 2 years in, and basically start from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, I mean, so I was planning to ask you about, the journey from dissertation to book, but I'm wondering
Mhm.
if we could expand that a little bit. Would love to hear about the journey from start of dissertation to realization of Vox Eurydice and then dissertation to book. Like, tell us the story. Tell us the story of
Okay.
of how it all happened.
Okay, the dissertation, well, I won't even get to dissertation formulation because
Okay.
that was such a hardship that when I came out of that, I had to recreate something every single class. And so neither of them gelled, except for the thing about opera. So, because I did have to write something about opera. And originally, my concept was what I call the feminine fugue, which was something I went to another speech, and there was heard about the idea that the aurora. I wish I should have looked up, but a wonderful presentation was given at the Jung Society of Orange County about there's some medallions, and for each one there was written a fugue and then a poem written for it in ancient times. So that's when the fugue came an idea. And I had the idea of three kinds of feminine energy. You had on one side Artemis, who we all know is true and the hunter, and patriarchy likes Artemis, because she's loyal and sincere. And then on the other side, we have Lilith, patriarchy, very scared of Lilith because she holds sexual sway over the patriarchy. And then in the middle, you have Isis, who I saw as combining both. And so I made it in the Lamazet, which is in infinity sign, which is also the symbolism of the Visus Pisces, or of Christ, or the fish, or of union. So that was going in. And I was really trying to, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. So I saw this, okay, we'll start all over. Um, and did that. And then do you want to go on to how it got published? Or
If you want
is
to,
that a
yeah,
different question?
absolutely.
Okay. Because I did go back in because the pandemic happened. And
Mm.
I was involved with the Pacifica alumni in Los Angeles County at that time. And there was an event at the Skirball Cultural Center, and they had a panel. It's just like, wow, they were talking so good. I was just so uplifted. And so I re-upped. But this time I knew what I was going to write about. I really wanted to write about Star Trek from depth psychological perspective, but I knew I didn't know enough. So that's why I re-upped. So I'm working on this. I'm going to the Popular Culture Association, and I was presenting a paper on Spock. And because uh, for organizations like this that have publishers that they're selling their books there, they look at the presentations to see possible people they want to talk to about authoring a book. So a publisher contacted me about talking about Star Trek as a potential book topic. And you're just like, yes, yes, yes. Um, when I had the meeting, it turned out that this particular publisher is much more into textbooks. And they said, wow, Star Trek, that's really general. I said, well, you want a textbook? I got a textbook for you. And that person connected me to the music person in that publishing house. And I submitted the prospectus, and there you go. And also, it was peer reviewed twice because the first peer reviewer did not understand what I was getting at. So this editor stayed with me. She said, I really think you've got something valuable here. Let's peer review it again. And so the second peer reviewer did agree there was something valuable there.
So that story I'm hearing as a testament to perseverance,
Yes.
to staying with it, to
Yeah.
things change, dramatic changes, and just staying with the material, and also testament to going to conferences,
Yes.
going and presenting at conferences, getting your work out there. Like that's the only way people can know if they want to publish it is if they come across it, right?
Yeah, and then visit the exhibit hall because there are publishers in that exhibit hall,
Okay.
Of course, that's always dangerous because particularly when you're flying, because the stack of books you tend to come away with because it's like a candy store.
Right, right.
I know, because popular culture is basically Comic-Con for academics.
A good
It
analogy.
has everything except for the costumes, It's just,
Well, we
no, it
could do
is.
something about that if we put our
Well,
minds
yeah,
to it.
yeah. Well, maybe there are some costumes. I shouldn't say that.
Any other advice for other people who might be interested in turning their dissertation into a book, having traversed those wilds? What
Yeah,
advice would you offer?
there are a few things. Well, first of all, obviously, I never had an agent,
Mm,
so you don't need one. Of course, and the contract is pretty much boilerplate, and it's not much money. I mean, I'm hoping I'll get something. I can say on my taxes that I got paid something, but of course, perhaps that's because I didn't have an agent. But I don't know. The other thing is that I did have to, what they say, embargo my dissertation on Procrest quiz. Because I don't know if it's all schools, but at Pacifica is pretty much automatically your dissertation is available to anyone. And because these people want to sell something, they want it not to be available for free.
uh-huh.
So, and it is possible, you do have to request that. And the other thing was that the editing process was much different than I anticipated. Because basically the editor who stayed with me, who said, okay, yes, let's get someone else. And by the way, you do have to come up with your own peer reviewers.
Mm.
That's another thing. It's part of the prospectus. And if none of them agree, then, they ask you for more names. So I just went to different universities, music departments, basically. Well, actually, obviously there were some people that I was quoting in my book. I started
Mm.
with that,
Mhm.
but when that kind of petered out, I went back into others, people who were writing on the same topics. So keep aware of what's going on in your topic. But then once it got done with her, it got forwarded to another department, and there it was just clearly mechanical. You don't have access to make any edits. All you can do is comment into the formatting doesn't seem right here. And that was because there's so many librettos that are quoted in my book. There was a lot of that. And
Mm.
that was really difficult because also the format, the citing format, the house style was different, because this was written in MLA. I think the house was Chicago, but they said it was okay to stay with MLA. But somehow that did not get the editor said that did not get sent to the people. That memo did not get sent to the people who were actually editing it. So that was a bit of an issue too. So it was a long editing process.
Wow. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I just want to take a minute to compliment you and point out for everyone, the book is so clearly written. I just so appreciated the clarity of the writing. I've told you personally, Maggie, but I'll say it in
Yeah.
public as well. You did us proud. You did this community proud, and it's great work.
And coming from a writer and editor as of your caliber, I thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh, you're
Because
very
they
welcome.
really did, yeah, they really didn't touch it too much. It was just the formatting issues.
Mm, yeah, that must have been fun.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing the nuts and bolts of the process. And my guess is every book's journey is a little bit different, but
Yeah.
your story is particularly interesting because it's an academic book,
Yeah.
and so I would venture to guess that academic books in general are going to have a different process than more popular books. So that's super useful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I
Awesome.
was very fortunate that, yeah, I'm very grateful that it is out in the world.
I'm grateful too. Okay, let's keep going. So,
Okay.
one of my favorite quotes from the book is on page 7, and it really kind of distills down some of the main points of the book. The quote is this, and these are Maggie's words. The need
Okay.
to reclaim one's inner femininity can be perceived as a reaction to the persistent devaluing of the feminine in Western culture. I mean, I just think that's such a concise and clear way of summarizing a gigantic issue, and would love to give you a chance to talk about how you might recommend people go about that work. Do the work of reclaiming inner femininity.
Wow. Well, I think that's kind of the basis of Jungian psychology. Actually, I was just at the Association of the Study of Women and Myth conference last weekend, and Saffron Rossi gave a presentation, and she basically said Jungian psychology can basically be thought of as fixing the Ariadne problem, the hubris and pride. I know, is that great? I just see on your
Would you say
face
that again? Repeat
that
that.
Jungian psychology can basically be summed up by studying the Ariadne problem, that Ariadne had the hubris to not tell Athena, it's like, yes, I've gotten my talents from you. It's all me. It's all me. So she
Oh,
said,
Arachne.
Arachne, excuse me. Yes,
Okay.
Arachne. Thank you. Yes,
I was thinking, what's the Ariadne problem?
Arachne. Yes, yes. I apologize.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
Yes, English is my first language. Oh gosh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so
This is what
Jungian
happens when I speak
psychology.
off book. Yes, okay.
So say it again. Jungian psychology is a way of addressing the Arachne problem. Is
Arachne.
that right?
Yes, yes. In that she did not, it was hubris. It was hubris for her not to acknowledge Athena. And as we know, Athena was one goddess who really liked to be acknowledged. Yeah.
The goddess of wisdom.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
okay.
and so how does that connect the dots for us between, addressing the Arachne problem and reclaiming the inner feminine? Is it
Be
hubris that blocks us from the inner feminine, or
I think it's because what I connect the hubris to is the patriarchy, the societal structure right now, the not valuing Gaia, the Mother Earth, the feminine, you know,
uh,
or the needs of the people. Because the other connection I make in the book is of the female rescuer is that it was a motif in the German language opera for composers who were living in what that time was German speaking territory, but it was not their own country. There was the Austro-Prussians and the Holy Roman Empire and the 30 World War. It was all fought in this area where people speak German, but they did not have their own land. And that the end of this whole need for the female rescuer coincided with the creation of the German state because they wanted to be a part of the female, you know, the female earth.
they were cut off?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Cool, thank you. So another theme related to, the patriarchy, another theme in the book, in Vox Eurydice, is the kind of reductive and dualistic view of women as, the whore Madonna complex. They're saints or they're sinners, they're angels or demons, they're all good, they're all evil, right? One or the other. And
yeah.
this view, obviously to me, it erases so much about the lived reality of women who, we're not cardboard cutouts. We're messy. We're living, breathing, complicated people. Um, and we're just as interesting as any other character, I would venture. So
Yes.
so yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts about how the dualistic view of women, the good versus evil view of women relates to the bigger picture of, patriarchy and colonialism and all the things that come along with it.
Well, the one opera that's the epitome of German language opera is Beethoven's Fidelio, which is the only opera he ever wrote. But even with that, and the basic storyline on that is that a woman masquerades, passes herself off as a young boy, basically, so that she can get herself in working with the prison guard where she believes that her husband is being held as a political prisoner. Okay. So, and she does, and she recovers him. In fact, she even saves all the prisoners, you know. But the thing is, I mean, she's not a wholly great, I mean, the jail keeper has a daughter who falls in love with Fidelio, believing that Fidelio is a man. And she has no problem with just saying, fine, I found my husband. Goodbye now. Oh, and by the way, I'm a woman. It's like, and she obviously she had to masquerade. She couldn't be herself. Which it happens. It's like in a patriarchy, the way to be it's not easy to be ourselves, and it's not even really a way for success. It's very hard to be successful being yourself as a woman in a patriarchy.
Yeah, I agree. And I loved the book's analysis of Fidelio. I had never heard of that opera, but
Yeah.
it's fascinating. Um, and it seems like a fairly subversive storyline, um, for the patriarchy, right?
Yeah, and also the idea, and I think this was came back from one of the previous mythlets, is that all the myths we have were written in a period of patriarchy. So you have to go deep below it to find the feminine. I mean, even in the ring cycle, um, which is Wagner's big marathon. It's hard because I don't know how much familiarity anyone has with opera here, but basically it's the one where you always see the woman with the horns and the flying horses and the Hoya to Ho. That one, you know. She is basically saves the world, but yet, you know, Siegfried, she falls prey to love, and she has to do a few things. She has to betray her lover. So I mean, there's a lot of it's not a straight path, you know. It's like
Yeah.
you would feel that if there would be great to be a straight path, but it's more like this.
The complexity, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, Speaking of Wagner, I really appreciated how the book points out Wagner's anti-Semitism. And it, you know, he's a
yeah,
brilliant opera composer, writer, whatever the word is for an opera maker. And there are real issues with his work. And obviously, you know, other scholars have connected his anti-Semit or positioned his anti-Semitism in the context of the rise of the Third Reich, right? Um,
yeah,
and so I just appreciated how the book points it out because it's just we need to bring it to awareness. It's shadow projections, right? Which we can
yeah,
see clearly in Wagner's work, and it's you know, anti-Semitism has been on the rise recently in the U.S. So it's so important to call it out and bring it to consciousness, and then dismantle it whenever possible. Right. So anyway,
yeah,
I'm expressing my gratitude for how the book handles that. And I think it also relates to the last chapter's discussion of what the book calls the unconscious themes. Your unconscious themes as the writer, Maggie, that drove
hmm,
this work. And what the book calls, and I'm quoting, these are your words again, the necessity for internal balance and self-acceptance, right?
yeah,
And these, I mean, this is the work. This is what so much of what we do boils down to. So, and this is going to be a big question, but
oh no,
wondering if for anyone else who's, I'm guessing all of us who's working on these ideas, you know, internal balance and self-acceptance and working with our unconscious themes, is there anything you would suggest for helping with that work of cultivating balance, cultivating self-acceptance? What's worked for you?
yeah, that is the big question because I'm still working on it every day. And I guess my okay, here's the thing is my brain understands is that this is not something that will ever be achieved, and it's just a goal to work toward, and to just be gentle with myself. But the other side is like, it's like, why couldn't I have done that better? It's like, why, you know, it's like the balancing of that all the time. It's like I didn't live up to what I would have liked to have done, but no one can live up to perfection, and you have to accept that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah. But that
Just
that word is so important, acceptance. Accept
yeah,
and that's you know, it's based on a verb. We can practice accepting. You know, it's a
yeah.
thing that maybe never reaches a, you know, final conclusion like you say, but it can be an ongoing practice. Just like practicing enchantment, which is in theory our
There
theme
you
for the year.
go. There you go.
Oh yeah, awesome. So a couple more questions, and then we'll switch and do a writing exercise. So
Okay.
everyone get your pen and paper ready. But first, Maggie, what hopes do you have for this book? What are your hopes and dreams for it? What's the happy ending for this book?
Well, one happy ending was that it did. My mom has a copy, and it makes her happy
Mhm.
because the reason it's German language opera is because my mom is from Germany, and I used to sing opera, so that's what they say, write what you know, right? So, and she, every time she looks at the German words in there, it makes her happy. I'm hoping that, just puts out a little energy out there, the feminine, and it's like we need to stop suppressing it. And also that maybe the feminine fugues, I'll do something with that in the future, find a place for it in the world.
I hope you do. I think that would be fantastic. Do you have any passages that you'd like to read to us?
There's just kind of this one passage that I think it kind of summarizes what we were talking about here. Oh, there was one quote that was from Dame Janet Baker, who portrayed Orpheus in a recent, well, okay, in the last in the last in the 1900 in the late 19th in the late 19 I think in the 70s or the 80s. Okay, one of those decades. Okay, I think it was in the 80s. Okay, because when Orpheus was created, it was either I sung by a contralto or a castrata, which we don't have those anymore. Well, we don't have castrata for sure. At least I don't believe we have castratas anymore. Be, yeah. But now it's typically played by a woman. And so the performer is even saying that it's the story of our journey, our search for wholeness, completeness.
Mm.
So just that the singer who is taking on that role, said that to the world, which
Our search for wholeness, our search for completeness.
completeness, right, right. So and I think we kind of hit on this, but it's just the idea that it's talking about Vox Eurydice. And in the opera, when the audience first sees Eurydice, she's blissfully at peace in the Elysian fields, becoming who she will be for all eternity when Orpheus comes to drag her out. And I think this is in Gluck's Orpheus and Eurydice. But Orpheus does not bother to explain to her that he has been instructed not to look at her. Instead, he just pulls her up through a dark tunnel toward the goal that he has chosen for both of them. Eurydice is once again prohibited from evolving because Orpheus wants her to belong to him as she is now. She did not ask to be dragged through a long, dark tunnel by a man who would not look at her to a place where she would be under his total control. That was what Orpheus desired. The idea of asking Eurydice what she wanted was not even a consideration. So.
Thank you so much, Maggie. That I really appreciate that you chose that particular passage because it's the perfect segue to today's writing exercise. So so let's do our writing exercise, and Maggie, you're welcome to write along, of course, with the community. Or you don't have to, whatever. But so everyone gather your pen and paper and shake your arms out a little bit. Let your body move a little bit as you settle into your chair or onto your feet or whatever surface is supporting you right now. And close your eyes or just soften your gaze, whichever feels more comfortable. And then breathe deeply in and out. Again, in and out. One more time, in and out. And as you breathe, listen. First, notice the sounds around you, wherever you are. And then shift your focus to listen within. Listen for the voice of your inner feminine. What is that voice saying right now? Or maybe singing. Go ahead and open your eyes and start writing. Write the words that your inner feminine is saying right now. Take dictation from that voice. Write quickly without editing, and just keep writing forward and get down as much as you can. I'll keep an eye on the clock. You just write. Okay, I know that wasn't a lot of time, but wrap up the thoughts that you're on. And then take a second and look over what you wrote. And underline any words or phrases that have special energy for you. And if you feel so moved, please type anything you like into the chat. One single word, or a sentence, or two sentences, or a phrase, or anything. Anything that you feel like you'd like to share for the community to experience along with you. And with that, we will open up for questions and comments for Maggie. So after you type in anything you want from your writing exercise, go ahead and put any questions or thoughts or comments or appreciations that you like into the Q&A for Maggie, and we'll lift up any questions that come in. And while everyone does all that typing, I know that's a lot of typing, um, would love to begin. I know I've been stealing a lot of question time with you, Maggie, but if you could get us started with maybe what's your favorite opera and analysis in the book?
I think, well, and probably the opera that most people might be familiar with is the Magic Flute.
Mm.
And the analysis that, which more people are agreeing with now, is that Pamina is actually the heroine of it. Because not only is she able, she's the one who tells Tamina, it's like, use the magic flute. Hello. But when she and Tamino are brought into the end, this very Masonic type lodge, which is basically all old men except for her and Tamino, it's like, where do you think the future is going to come from? She's a woman. She can give birth. She can make life.
Mm.
So
Awesome. Thank you. Steph, do we have any questions coming in or shares in the chat, or?
Yes, we do. We do. Says great job on the book. He's in chapter 3 right now, and
Oh.
really enjoying it. And so he was wondering, what is your take on how, from the standpoint of Vox Eurydice, the Orpheus and Eurydice story was handled in the TV series Chaos? I don't know if you saw that Netflix TV series. Um, but in this take, the ending, I don't know if it's spoilers. It's been a minute, so
Okay.
spoilers
I think we
if
can
you
spoil.
haven't
It's okay
seen.
to spoil.
Like, but yeah, where they actually, both of them, both Orpheus and Eurydice, make it out of the underworld. They come back to Earth, and then they go their separate ways. They split.
I don't have Netflix, even though this series comes up quite a lot. People are so at some point I need to take what you get a 7-day free trial or something and get Netflix and see this. But what I can relate it to is that in the early Italian operas, because these operas were created for big events like royal weddings or the birth, and they also had the side purpose of making the institution of monarchy look good, you know. So the original ending had to be changed because, you know, Orpheus, either he in some of the tellings he's ripped apart by the Maenads, in others that he decides that he'll just go with boys now, and that's how we get the first or one of the first homosexual myth things in there, myth themes. So that doesn't work. So in Monteverde's work, interestingly enough, that came earlier, Apollo, um, Apollo and Orpheus go into the heavens where Orpheus becomes a constellation and he'll meet Eurydice in the heavens somewhere later. You know, it's all in the heavens. In Monteverde's work, um, both Orpheus and Eurydice are brought back to life, and all the people in the, and there's a big ballet celebrating the joys of marriage. So, so they had to tweak the ending in both those, but I know to me it's because they had to tweak it for the patriarchy, because the original ending just wasn't going to work for them, so they switched it out. They wanted the Hollywood ending.
Early Hollywood, right?
Yes, early Hollywood. Yes, there you go.
But so that's pretty interesting. This I didn't see the end of Chaos, I admit. But it's interesting that they split up. I mean, from on one hand, from an image
Yeah.
point of view, that is the separation of masculine and feminine, right? Like the Hollywood ending, you could argue, is the union of masculine and feminine, which Jungian thought is all about. Um, so what do you think of that? What do you think of them going their separate ways?
That would be a modern telling, wouldn't it?
And then they each
Although,
have to go get in touch with their own inner feminine, presumably.
yeah, although Eurydice was right where she needed to be before Orpheus, you know, brought her up,
Mhm.
you know, so it's still in the patriarchy, but yeah, you know,
I
going this,
wonder, Steph, did you see the show? Like
Yeah.
what were the Elysian Fields like in the show where Eurydice was waiting or had gone
I mean, my
waiting?
I mean, my take on it is Eurydice was happy.
Uh,
And I think they did a really interesting telling of her story because she was unsettled. You know, Orpheus is wildly famous musician, and you know they portray that, and she's just not quite happy and not quite sure. And the underworld's kind of her awakening. It's like her coming into herself. It's what I felt like the
Interesting.
show was doing, and I do think it was very um, interesting, kind of challenging the deification of these entities and what they're actually representing, and is this really what we're about? And I thought the series was great. I was sad not to see it renewed
Mm,
for another season, but interesting retelling nonetheless. Yeah.
very
there's
cool.
also a retelling in Hadestown, the recent Broadway show, where again Eurydice is being blamed for the situation. Um, But this time, I mean, it's odd because in a way they give her more agency, because instead of having a snake bite her or a flower or whatever that she's just drawn into or kidnapped or to Hades, she signs a contract with the devil
Oh,
because Orpheus at this time, he's a struggling musician and she's working in a bar to support them basically, you know. And so she makes a deal with the devil, goes down to Hades town, and then finds out that it's slave labor. And she does try to unionize the people who were stuck down there. But it's
Union Cities.
yeah, yeah. So it's like she's given okay, it's mixed messages, because first of all, she's clearly put the blame on how she ended up down there is given to her. And it tries to give her more agency in that and in creating the union. But then at the same time, it's sort of in a repeat pattern. She comes back up, and then the same thing happens over and over and over again. So it makes you think that this pattern is going to repeat forever. So that ending wasn't particularly satisfying either.
We'd like the freedom to kind of move things around. Jody also brought up the Zeus Hera dynamic and chaos is quite interesting as well.
Okay, okay.
Kind of
And I see she said that Kenneth Branagh did a film of the Magic Flute,
yes.
which I haven't seen. I think a long time ago I saw the Swedish guy, Swedish guy, the great filmmaker that I can't remember the name of.
Bergman?
Uh, what? Pardon?
Bergman?
Yes, he did.
In,
He did a
in,
magic flute. Yeah, yeah. And Judy's very right that the feminine and the masculine, and in all of I've seen a lot of interpretations of the magic flute on stage, stage. Judy Taymor even did one, but she is exactly right that it's Pamina and Tamino together that to pass the rituals and heal the land, because that's ideally what will happen when they're taken into this Masonic lodge type. It's usually shaped like a pyramid where they're taken into.
I saw
But
that Julie Taymor production in
yeah,
New York, and this was years ago. I had no idea anything about opera or myth or anything, and I was just like, what is happening right now? It was just hallucinatory, you know? Very, very
yeah,
wild.
yeah. I think she did kind of the same thing with the Lion King too, with all the
Mm,
puppets and everything. She's known for that.
yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that
Any
a
other,
satisfying ending? I was
what,
just curious, was that a satisfying ending, the magic flute in this retelling, where the masculine and feminine work together?
Well, the magic flute, it's always told that way, but it's just not explained that way.
Mm.
It always has the same ending, the Queen of the Night and her three ladies and Monostrato, the person who tries to rape, they all end up somewhere bad, usually underground or whatever. And Pamina and Tamino, by their virtue, they end up they're accepted into this lodge. And then you also have the Papageno, and the Papagena character, who's the he is like everyone loves his song. He's like the earthy fellow, and he's not so much looking for truth. He just wants to find a wife and have little children. So, and he's happy. He always has a happy ending. So
I mean, the written operas don't typically get reinterpreted the way myth does, right?
yeah,
Like, that we've brought up what, five, six different versions, like plot different versions of Orpheus and Eurydice, but like when an opera gets restaged, it has to get reinterpreted in ways other than changing the libretto, as I understand it, right? Is that
you're
true?
yeah, you're right. The staging is like Peter Sellers did Don Giovanni, and he did it in Harlem or in a
Right.
subway or something like that. Or I mean, the Magic Flute has been staged like Jodie Taymor. It's been staged as a black and white film. Um, it- but you're right. Well, of course, they always say that the Magic Flute actually no one's ever seen the entire thing because it was always cut even from the very first performance. So people just, the directors kind of take what they want to emphasize, and where they stage it brings up what they're emphasizing.
Mm-hmm.
And in society and that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
But you're right. The libretto remains the same, but it's the staging that is reinterpreted.
Very cool. Well, that about takes us to time. Do we have any last final questions, Steph, or should we uh should we invoke the virtual applause for Maggie?
Let's do that.
I
Let's
think let's do it. Let's hear it for Maggie. Let's hear it for Maggie and her work and everything she did to bring this book into the world. And if there's a word or a phrase from the conversation today that you'll carry away with you, we'd love to hear that in the chat and share that with everyone else. And Steph, if we could share the slide about Maggie's work. We have some this, yes, yay, here we are. So here is how to get more information about Maggie's work, how to follow her, read and share the book. There is a 30% discount code available, and I think we have that to drop into the chat. When you buy the book from the publisher site, you can get a 30% discount. And Maggie has a new essay coming out on April 9th in a new book. The book is called Jungian and Interdisciplinary Interfaces Between Emotions. What a perfect place for an essay on Mr. Spock. Maggie, can you
Yeah.
hold that book up again?
Yeah. They just sent me a copy yesterday. I'm the
There we
last
go. Let's hear it
chapter.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
And if you'd like to
And this
read,
was
go
this was
ahead,
also through a
sorry.
conference, just so you know. I went to the conference and did it, and so they contacted me. So
Is
do
it
that.
okay? So again, go to conferences, present at conferences, right? That's my takeaway today. And so Maggie's website, where she has blogged every single Star Trek episode and movie and ever anything, right? That is
Yeah.
mydailysoultrek.com. And you can follow Maggie on LinkedIn. And I betcha Stephanie's about to drop that link into the chat as well. Maggie, are there any other ways that you would invite people to follow you?
I'm trying to get Instagram work. I just have a little glitch. Oh, the ism. I go to
ISM.
the ism group. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So join the International Society of Mythology. Maggie's in that community as well. Um, yeah, so perfect. Thank you so much, Maggie. And Steph, I think we can go on to the next slide. Um, Yes, here we are. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Maggie, especially you. Thank you for bringing your soul and your voice to today's webinar. And to all of the Fates and Graces and Mythlit events that you've joined us for. Today is the fourth Mythlit webinar that we've hosted this year as part of our Practicing Enchantment theme. And what's next for the Fates and Graces, meaning Stephanie and myself, is that we are going to take a little bit of a break to plan what's next. But I will say that we're thinking of hosting a virtual writing intensive this fall sometime. Details TBD. We're still working that out. So subscribe to our email list if you haven't already for all the updates. And in the meantime, you can watch the recordings of all our Mythlit webinars on our YouTube channel. And of course, we're on social. So our social handles are here on this slide. And Stephanie and I also have our own email newsletters individually, in addition to Fates and Graces. And you can sign up for those on our websites, stephaniezachowski.com and joannagardner.com. Stephanie and I want to extend a super special thank you to the Fates and Graces patrons whose support has made this year's Mythlit webinars possible, including this one right now. The support has made these webinars possible and has made them free for the community. So please join us in saying thank you to our amazing patrons. And that is just about it for today. In closing, I just want to remind you that your voice is vital. Your wisdom, your stories, your lessons learned. And as you work with your voice in whatever way you feel called to do, I wish you the blessings of courage and healing and the deep knowledge that you matter and your voice matters. So keep reading, keep writing, and keep practicing enchantment. We will see you next time.